What's up guys, it's your boy, Still Needs an Intro, and today we're going to be reviewing a 1985 V8 Swapped S10.
Watching it end, again and again. I feel it in waves, you follow me, drifting to places I should leave. So close to the edge of something so perfect. We were too scared to take the leap. I'm missing the way we used to be. Let me go.
Now the only things that are actually original in this truck are just the body panels on the outside and then part of the dash that's on the interior. Now the door panels are technically original to the truck, but since the swap, they've been painted black and then they added door speakers as well. Now in the bed of this little army box here is the compressor for the horns that are up front, and this is obviously an external fuel tank. Now since this has a fuel tank that has been moved from its original place, behind the gas door is the fuel pump and the fuel filter because it's easy to reach. Now one of the main reasons to relocate the gas tank from underneath the truck up into the bed is so that the exhaust can go straight out the back and as unrestricted as possible. This has a T5 5-speed manual transmission with 3 pedals. It does have the original gauge cluster, but they also have the tach on the steering column, temperature, oil pressure, and battery voltage. Now along with the door speakers, it also has an aftermarket head unit, and here behind both of the bucket seats there are extra speakers in the back. Now one quirky thing about the interior with this original gauge cluster, you don't have a temperature gauge, an oil pressure gauge, or a battery voltage gauge. That's why these are all here, but you do have an entire right side of your cluster that's just a fuel gauge. Now while we're in here, let's pop the hood and take a look at the powerhouse of this thing. Now here you can see the built 350 small block. Now this has a fully built 350 that was previously a boat motor, and they said that whenever they installed it in the truck, the motor has so few miles on it that you could still see the cross hatching from when they honed out the cylinders. Now obviously everything that goes into fitting one of these inside of an S10 is a pain. For example, the headers have to wrap around the steering column that runs through it, which means every time you have to take off the manifolds or take out the steering column for some reason, everything is in your way. And you can see this says 228 on the valve covers, and then here in the back it says, yeah, right there, 305 cubic inch. And that's because these came off of a 305. It's nothing really more than that. Another thing to mention under here is obviously the air horn, but the line that runs from the compressor to the horn is actually not functioning right now. So won't be able to give you a demonstration, but whatever. They're there and they work. Now this did originally have a super long shifter that came up to like here, with a bench seat throughout the entire cabin. But whenever they relocated with the new transmission, this is the original spot in the floor where it was. So we just go ahead and cover that up. We'll throw that on top of there, and then we just don't talk about it. Now, in true Doug DeMuro fashion, here is the owner's manual that was originally from 1985. Now, I'm not going to go through this entire thing, but if you open this thing up to section 0-4, it gives you instructions on how to install a camper on your S10. Now, considering this thing had a whopping 80 horsepower out of the factory, I'm not too sure on how many people did that, but just in case you want to, it's right in here. Now here you can see the yellow traction bars that are underneath of it, and then the entire chassis has been painted red. And if you took a closer look, if you look there, you can see this girthy rear end is an 8.8 inch forward rear end that came out of an Explorer. And then this is the original drive shaft that came out of the truck, but they did have to get a aftermarket U-joint that went from the drive shaft to the rear end. Now, in order to make the rear end fit, they had to cut down the rear end to pretty much exact specifications within a few millimeters. Now let's go ahead and get a start up on it and let's see how it sounds. I love it. Oh my God.
That's 70.
Fuck. Go for it.
Oh my God. It's a problem with having so much power being so light is you just spin the tires the whole time. That would be a good example. Oh well.
Now, I'm sitting here editing this video right now, but I just want to make it very clear I can't get over this truck, because this is, I wouldn't go as far to say it's my bread and butter necessarily, but this is my kind of thing right here. It's just a dad and his son working however many hours throughout the night, weekends, dumping hundreds and hundreds of dollars into trying to build this thing into the thing that it is today. And this is like the definition of a budget build, because everything, they didn't take it to a shop, they didn't, none of that stuff. They did everything themselves, and they still got it done. And this is the same thing my dad and I have gone through with my truck for however many years now. Like, for example, the 8.8 inch rear end, they went to LKQ Pick Your Part, found the Ford Explorer with the exact rear end that they wanted, and then they had to rush there straight into the morning with all of their tools and all that stuff, and they laid on the ground at a junkyard and pulled the rear end out of this truck. Like, they milled everything down, like I said, within millimeters. These things have to be very precise, and they did this all in their garage. And stuff like this just makes me incredibly happy, especially to see how far it has come, because I've seen this truck since before the V8 swap and before they started doing all this stuff to it. So I know how far this truck has come, and I'm pretty sure I understand the amount of work that it takes to get a project like that to the condition that it's in today. So, huge thank you to the owner for letting me make this video, because I love this kind of stuff, and I hope you do too. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to drop a like and share it with your friends. If you'd consider subscribing, click over here. If you want to see what YouTube recommends you watch next, click over here. And as always, I look forward to seeing you guys next time.